morning and welcome to Wholesome Roots. Today is another edition of Natural Goat Care. Today we're going to be discussing how to naturally prevent parasites in your herd and how to watch for the signs of parasite infestation and what to do about it. If you have encountered a parasite infestation overload, ways in which you can treat it naturally, and also the best steps to take if natural is no longer working. Most of the parasites that you're going to fight with your small ruminants are going to be strongolids, which are things like Barber poleworm. You're also going to battle with some tapeworm and roundworm issues, which are more easily to identify in the fecal matter than visually than using a microscope. And then the other big one is a protozoa called coccidia. And coccidia is natural in all animals' stomachs. It's natural to have some coccidia. It's just when the numbers get too high that you have to treat it. So these natural remedies are going to help with all three of those issues. Proper herd management is the most crucial role in keeping your animals healthy, especially if you've chosen the natural route. Treating your goats naturally is quite possible for parasite control. One of the key factors in making sure that you can fight the battle of parasites is to buy quality stock, preferably from a farm that already manages their herd naturally. 90% of my herd came from a herd that has been raising their goats naturally for generations, goat generations. So most of the goats that I have are third or fourth generation naturally raised. During the time that they were raising these goats, they were culling any that didn't do well with the natural regimen. And that makes it so that most of our goats are pretty parasite resistant naturally. All this blank area with nothing but sticks is where the goats just were, and now we have rotated them over to this section that they're now eating on. Rotational grazing is a key in parasite management. When they drop the parasite eggs from their defecation on the ground, you are feeding the soil with that life. That life is going to be staying in that soil, and it's going to continue going back up into the cycle again. As the goats eat a piece of wet grass, there's more worms in it that they take into their body that hatch out and lay more worms, and the cycle just keeps going if you keep them in the same area. That's why it's so important to remove them from that area and let them go onto a new piece of soil that hasn't been recently contaminated with new eggs. The goal in natural parasite control is not to have zero parasites. You can never have zero parasites no matter how hard you try. Even if you're using chemicals, you don't bring it down to a zero level. The idea is to bring the parasite load down to a low enough manageable level. So we like to see anything below 500 eggs per gram in a fecal exam, or even under 100 is even better. If it gets up to 1,000 or 2,000, your animal's already in trouble, and you need to get some strong herbs in them fast and at high dosages. Other things that come into the management for your herd for preventing parasites are things like not letting the animals out on wet grass. Wet grass carries a lot of parasites, and it's not good for them. Making sure that your animals stay strong and healthy with a good immune system requires the use of good quality food, clean water at all times, and additional supplements like the herbs that we use. It's not a bad idea for all goats to be offered garlic. Regardless of parasite issues, garlic helps boost the immune system, and when a goat feels like they need it, they will gobble it up. We also offer Pine needles and raspberry and blackberry leaves are really good ones too. And those have high tannins and high vitamin C as well, especially the pine. And it will help prevent parasites, and it will boost the immune system. So all of these things are good natural management techniques, is making sure your animals are eating tannin rich foods but not too much tannins. A lot of people see plants on the poison list or toxic list because they're high in tannins, like oak or dock. Sometimes those will be listed on plants to not allow your goats to have. But in fact, if you're going the natural route, it's good to let them choose a few leaves of those plants and gobble them up to help lower the worm load by increasing the tannins in their rumen. Signs to look for if a goat is experiencing parasite issues is you're going to want to look at the quality and condition of their coat. If their coat is nice and shiny and smooth looking, you most likely are not experiencing any issues. If the coat were scraggly and patchy looking and just unwell looking coat is often a sign that a goat has parasites. The other thing that you're looking for is you're going to check your goats every week, goats or sheep, every week, for their FOMACHA score. FOMACHA score is a way of looking at the under eyelids of the goat's eye to determine if the goat is anemic. Anemia is the #1 symptom for most parasites. You're also going to want to keep an eye on the back end, looking for signs of diarrhea or pellets that are not formed into nice clean round pellets but clumped up into dog poop style is usually a sign that there is a parasite issue. Keeping your herd healthy and parasite free is going to start with a weekly herbal dewormer. Most of these herbs are immune boosting as well, and that's part of it. But a lot of them cause irritation to the parasites and either kill them or make them weak enough that they don't produce any more offspring. We've been using Molly's Herbal since we started our herd. That's what they were getting weekly when we got them. And that's what we've continued to use with great success. Land of Havilah, Fir Meadows, Granny's Best, Wildcraft. There are numerous other pre-packaged herbal mixes that you can get. You can also mix your own herbs together or tinctures and create a healthy healing blend that's going to keep your immune system healthy and your parasite load down. But it has to be done weekly, just like humans. You don't just take your vitamins once a month, right? You got to take them every day. So keeping the levels high in their body is part of the management. So herbs have to be taken at high doses frequently. That is crucial for them to be able to work. One of the most crucial tools in controlling parasites, after looking at the FOMACHA score and the body score and seeing what body condition they're in, is going to be doing a fecal egg count. Fecal exams can be done by your local vet office. Most large animal vets will do goats, but not all. I actually had to practically arm wrestle a local large animal vet to get him to do ours. There are also labs that you can send off for if you can't find a local vet that can do it. But best of all is learning how to do your own. It is not that hard. I have a video showing how to do it. You can check that out. Doing my own fecal exams not only saves me money, but it saves me peace of mind because I can do them at any time. If I think somebody looks a little peaked, I can do a fecal exam. If I think somebody has a little bit of the runs and I don't think it's from the grass, I can do a fecal exam. When I get a new goat, I can do a fecal exam. And those fecal exams should be done when you see symptoms, when you've received a new goat, and it should be done 10 days after you have treated that animal, so that you know if the herbs worked, and if they didn't, you're going to have to repeat them. Every animal that comes into your farm, when they arrive there, you should know what their parasite load is. You should know what their eggs per gram already is, and know that if they are a high carrier or a low carrier, how you're going to treat that moving forward. Some goats are not as parasite resistant as others, and they become perpetually parasite issues. Some goats respond faster to the herbs than others. That's also something that you have to keep in mind. And if you're switching an animal over from a chemical deworming protocol to a natural worming protocol, you may have some experiences in the beginning that make it look like the herbs aren't working. The reason for this is that animal's body has been stressed, the rumen has been destroyed by the chemicals, and they are not strong because they've been receiving the chemical dewormers. That has weakened them. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get their strength back, to let their rumen regrow the natural bacteria that's so beneficial to their rumen that's been killed off by these wormers. Oftentimes people think that if you're dealing with a high parasite load, the only way to cure it is with a chemical dewormer. Unfortunately, what happens with a high parasite load and chemical dewormer combination is often death, because the chemical dewormers will instantly kill all of the parasites at once, causing them to all release the intestinal wall, causing blood to flow into that animal's body, making the animal bleed out internally. Now, with the chemical dewormers, that all happens instantly. With the herbal dewormers, they take time, they take high doses. So the release from the intestinal wall is more of a gradual process, creating less strain on the goat's body. So they actually are better for treating a high worm load than chemical dewormers. So our preventative herbal blend is Molly's Formula 2, and it has cucurbita pepo, which is pumpkin seed, fennel, garlic, hyssop, mugwort, thyme, and stevia. Those are herbs that help prevent parasites from becoming extreme. There are numerous other herbs out there that are also going to be beneficial. So do your research, learn more about herbs, and find ones that you might want to add into your weekly protocol as well. Another thing that you should have in your daily protocol is copper. So copper has been proven in studies to prevent worms. So the loose mineral that's high in copper that they have access to every day is crucial. We also do an every 4 to 6 month copper bolus. And those are copper metal rods that embed themselves in the intestine and slow release the copper. Then, every 6 to 8 weeks, we use Molly's Herbal Formula 2. And this one has wormwood, black walnut, fennel, garlic, and stevia. Wormwood and black walnut are ones that you want to be a little bit more careful with about not overdosing. And we don't use this on pregnant goats. So we've talked about what to do to help prevent parasites. What do you do when you have parasites? Now we know if we see an animal that has pale eyelids, rough coat, diarrhea, those are reasons that we're going to want to take a closer look at that animal and do something about it fast. So then what do I do when I see somebody with diarrhea? I immediately take a Formula 1 scoop and a GI Soother scoop. Mix it together and I drench it to them. If the diarrhea clears up right away, I don't worry too much about it because it could have been caused by eating too much grass. But if there were parasites, the combination of the Formula 2 or Formula 1 even, and the GI Soother makes it very effective. The GI Soother has cinnamon, ginger, turmeric, cloves, slippery elm, and mullein. If I see somebody that has diarrhea and pale eyelids and a rough coat, I know that they have parasites, and I'm going to act very quickly and do all of the things that I need to do to reduce that parasite load. So this is when I would use my garlic ginger paste and my essential oils. I have a recipe for the garlic ginger paste. You can see it in a video or in a blog post. And it is very effective. The garlic, the ginger, and the cayenne are very effective in this recipe at reducing parasite loads and also boosting immunity. You see the trend here? And then essential oils. Essential oils that are good for deworming are wild orange, oregano, and On Guard. On Guard is a proprietary blend made by doTERRA. It has cinnamon, cloves, rosemary, eucalyptus, and something else. Frankincense, maybe? So frankincense is an immune booster, so you can add a drop of that if you like. If you don't have On Guard, you can add a drop of the cinnamon and clove, eucalyptus, and rosemary. The proper dosage for the garlic ginger paste is given in the recipe, and the proper dosage for essential oils is 1 drop per 20 pounds. All of these oils should be administered in a carrier oil, and you always want to do 10 drops of carrier to 1 drop of essential oil. So this is an oil drench that you can mix up and drench them. These things can be combined. You can mix together your garlic ginger paste, your oils, and your herbs, and they are going to be just as effective. If you're dealing with a hard case, that's actually what I usually do here on the farm ourselves, is if I see somebody who's seriously worrying me, that's what I'm going to do. So most important in parasite control is absolutely prevention. But what do you do when you find out that you've got a situation that's out of control? If you've let it get out of control, it's okay. It happens. People get busy, people forget to give their weekly dose, and these things can happen. What you're gonna do is you're gonna do acute dosage of any of these herbs, or all of them if you want. So acute dosage means you can either triple the dosage 3 times a day, or you can give the dose even more extremely. In even more extreme situations, sometimes you have to acutely dose throughout the day. So you would give a dose every 15 minutes for the first hour, then every hour for the next 3 hours, and then every 3 hours for the rest of the day. Then on the second day, you can give it 3 times that day, on the third day twice, and on the fourth day once. Then you should start to see improvements. If you're not seeing any improvements at this point, you can begin from the beginning again, giving it every 15 minutes the first hour, every hour for the next 3 hours, etc., etc. Well, as I promised at the beginning of this video, that I would even discuss chemical deworming. So the chemical deworming, if you've already tried everything you can with the herbs and it's not working, and you've chosen that you want to take that step, that is perfectly okay. The important thing is to do what you feel is right for your herd. If you feel like you've gotten to the point where chemicals are necessary, then by all means use them if you have to. But I think it's very important that people know that there are good ways to use chemicals and there are bad ways to use chemicals. And I would say probably 75% of the people out there using the chemical dewormers are using them wrong. So, lucky for me, I have a lot of background on education from small ruminant vets on using chemical dewormers and how to properly use them when you do need them. Chemical dewormers should never be given on a schedule. This is not something that is recommended today in current practice, but it is something that was once recommended. It is no longer recommended. What this does is it causes parasite resistance to those dewormers. So now you no longer have chemical dewormers that work on your farm because all of the parasites on your farm have grown used to those chemicals. So when do you use a chemical dewormer? Only if a fecal egg exam is so extreme in numbers and you've already tried everything you feel comfortable trying, then it may be time to use the chemical dewormers. How do you use the chemical dewormers and which ones? Well, to be honest, I've never had to use chemical dewormers, so I'm not an expert in this. But I do have friends in the goat community that are experts, and I was trained by the experts. So the best way to do your chemical dewormer is to choose 2 chemical dewormers from 2 different classes of dewormers. There's 3 different classes of chemical dewormers. They each fall into different categories. So if you choose a chemical dewormer from 2 different classes, and then you give those to the animal, you administer them at the proper dose, which is often more than what the label says. So make sure that you learn what the proper goat dosage is, because oftentimes it's 3 times as much. And so if you underdose a chemical dewormer, you're also adding to the problem. You're adding to the parasite resistance problem if you use too small of a dose. So make sure your dose is big enough. You're gonna give those 2 dewormers at the same time from different syringes. Then 12 hours later, you're gonna do it again and dose them again. Then in 10 days, you're gonna dose them again. That'll catch all of the eggs that have hatched out. That is the chemical deworming protocol that I recommend when people ask me, well, what do I do if I wanna use chemicals? That's the only way I recommend it. If you're gonna use chemical dewormers, in my opinion, that's the only way to do it. If you're doing it any other way, then you're using the chemical dewormers incorrectly, and you could be doing more damage than good. So with all that being said, I do not recommend chemical dewormers. I highly encourage you to give it a go with the natural dewormers. They've been very successful for us on our farm, and we have been able to prevent most parasite issues. And the times where we have seen a little bit more parasite signs or infestations even in the fecal exam, we have been able to knock it out with the natural herbs. So we are firm believers in natural parasite control working. We have had the state vet examine several of our animals, and they have described our herd as in the top % for all small ruminant in the southeast for parasite control. If any of you have any idea how huge that is, how huge that is. Parasites are the #1 problem for goats and sheep, and yet we are in the top % of showing how parasite control can work in our herd, and we're doing it all natural. They have never had to have a chemical dewormer yet. The state vet was stunned by that fact, but he confirmed that we had great parasite loads in our herd, and he was very impressed. So if you doubt for a minute that it can be done, I am prime example that it can be done. And it can be done in the southeast, even though we have the worst parasite problems than anywhere else in the country. So know that you can overcome these parasites with the natural protocols. Thank you guys for watching. Please check out the other videos in our natural goat care playlist and see what else we can teach you. Let us know if there's any videos that you would like to see us do in the future for natural goat care. And keep coming back. Ring that bell next to the subscribe button to make sure you get notifications. Please like, share, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you next time on Wholesome Roots.